This plane that crashed had previously encountered issues as well. 4 years ago, in November 2021, this plane was traveling from London to Hyderabad, and it had to make an emergency landing in Turkey due to a fuel leak. When undercover workers were asked at the factory where these Boeing planes are manufactured if they would ever travel in this plane, they all refused. One employee claimed that defective parts were installed in the Dreamliners and that metal fragments were often left inside the planes. There was also pressure to avoid reporting these violations. A quality manager even told his wife that he would never travel in a Dreamliner again. Between 2012 and 2013, 11 such planes were delivered, which were so poorly made that Cynthia Kitchian said she couldn't sleep at night. On June 12, 2025, at around 1:30 p.m., Air India Flight AI-171 departs from the loading base at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. Although the flight was scheduled to depart at 1:10 p.m., it was delayed. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was being used for this flight, and it wasn't the first flight for this plane. About 12 hours earlier, it had arrived in Delhi from Paris, and then it flew from Delhi to Ahmedabad. On this flight, a passenger, Akash Vatsa, noticed something strange. He saw that the plane's wing flaps were moving up and down continuously, and the air conditioning was not working properly. He also mentioned that not just the ASC, but the plane's entertainment system and remote control were not working either. Fortunately, at 11:16, the plane safely lands in Oman. The plane is refueled at around 12:20, taking 42 minutes, which is slightly longer than usual. Normally, it should take 30 to 35 minutes. A DGCA official later told the Indian Express that this was not an extraordinary delay and that a little extra time could be expected during refueling. While refueling was happening, passengers were boarding the plane. Exactly 242 people boarded, including 230 passengers, 10 crew members, and 2 pilots. The command of the plane was held by Captain Sumit Sabah, and his co-pilot was Clive Kundur, with 10,100 flying hours. At 1:31 p.m., the plane starts moving toward the active runway, and at 1:34, it gets clearance to take off from Ahmedabad Air Traffic Services. At exactly 1:38 and 24 seconds, all pre-flight checks are completed, and there were no warnings before takeoff. If you were to look at this international airport from satellite imagery, you'd see that it has only one runway, surrounded by residential areas. In these residential areas lived a 17-year-old boy, Aryan, who wanted to show his friends how a plane takes off. So, he pulled out his phone and started filming. In the video, it is seen that the plane's landing gear didn't retract. At 1 hour, 38 minutes and 55 seconds, the plane reached an altitude of 625 feet, but it could not climb further. Just a few seconds later, the pilots called the air traffic controller, saying, "Trust not achieved," falling. After this, communication with air traffic control was lost, and attempts to re-establish contact failed. At 1 hour, 39 minutes and 13 seconds, the plane started descending, in just 34 seconds after takeoff. It crashed about 1.5 kilometers from the airport in the residential area of Meganani Nugar, hitting the BJ Medical College hostel and catching fire. At the time of the crash, it was lunch break, and about 35 students were gathered in the canteen. Suddenly, the plane crashed into the canteen. The students didn't understand what was happening. To save themselves, some jumped from the windows, some from the second floor, and others from the third. Residents nearby reported hearing a loud sound when the plane hit the medical college hostel, thinking it was an earthquake. When they went outside, the area was filled with smoke, and debris was scattered on the ground. Out of all the people on the plane, only one passenger survived. Viswas Kumar, a British citizen, who was seated near the emergency exit at seat 11A. He said that the side of the plane, where his seat was located, happened to fall towards the ground, and since he was near the emergency exit, he saw an empty space and managed to escape. However, the other side of the plane was blocked by a wall, which is why no one else could escape. The government has not officially stated how many people died, but estimates suggest that the number could be more than 270. This crash will be written in the pages of history. It is considered one of the most terrifying crashes in the world.